Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me. So this is a weekend and I've got nothing to do, which is pretty cool. You know, my work is done. Don't go back to that till Monday. I don't have any chores or anything this particular weekend, so I'm all good. I'm all caught up on everything. And what do I like to do? Hit up a record store, of course. So I've got some cool scores from the record store. Just got back from Sound Exchange and I thought you guys might like to go through these with me. We'll do that in just a moment. But before we get into it, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already clicked the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. And of course, if you turn on notifications, you're gonna stay up to date on really cool videos just like this with scores from the record store. So 9 of them, in fact. Let me pull them out here and let's get into them. I basically perused the whole store from top to bottom. So I covered everything. Now, pretty much anytime I go, I do that. But it just constantly boggles my mind what I find in the store that I didn't see the time before, or my eyes just passed over. Maybe I wasn't in the mood for it. I don't know. And yes, some of the stuff can be things they get in, but a lot of this stuff is out of print and hard to find. And if I knew it was there, I would have picked it up at different times. So it's just pretty cool. You know, always go back and peruse through sections, even when you think you've got everything, there's nothing left to get, this store isn't going to get something in. You never know. All right, so one of those turned out to be this 1988 solo album from Jim Capaldi. I don't know if he released it just under the Capaldi name, but that's all that's across the top of it. The album is called Some Come Running, and didn't know much about it, but just I like all the 80s stuff that he did. Obviously, drummer from Traffic, that's who we're talking about here. And so I saw that. It's also a reissue on Esoteric Records, so that's kind of cool, which means booklet inside has a bunch of cool stuff to read, information galore, you name it, it's in here, lyrics and everything as well. So I open up the cover of this thing because I didn't know much about it, but I like Jim Capaldi. And I looked at who's playing on it. And we got Steve Winwood on keyboards and guitar and vocals on a couple tracks. George Harrison plays on a track. Eric Clapton is on 2 tracks. Mick Rouse of Bad Company is on here. So just lots and lots of cool people guesting on this album, making it even better. Once I saw that, had to add it to the collection. But there you go. Jim Capaldi. Some Come Running is the title of that. This next one, didn't even know this guy had albums out because I only know him as an actor. Tim Curry. And this is one of the Bad Reputation Records reissues, so I figured it's got to be pretty darn good if Bad Reputation Records is putting it out. I love their whole reissue series that they're doing. And this one here is called Fearless, and I think it is 1979 is the time of this album here. So whether or not that is before, after, or right during Rocky Horror Picture Show, because I don't really know that. But this obviously was to cash in on all of it. And if you like Meatloaf, that's a lot of what this sounds like right here. It's definitely that sort of theater vibe, but rocked up quite a bit. And I gotta say, I put on my headphones and gave this a listen, and it really intrigued me. It was some unique stuff. It's sort of, if you can imagine, it kind of sounds like Iggy Pop. So it's kind of a punk sound, but doing more theatrical versions of music like Meatloaf. So it's kind of an interesting mix, a kind of punk theatricalness, if you will. I don't know. There's some subgenre in there, I'm sure. This next one I was just thumbing through. I think I've seen this before, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know really anything about it. Car Jam 21. And the funny thing is, when I first saw that, I thought it was Car Jam 4. And it wasn't until I actually took it up to the counter and the guy said, what's Car Jam 21? And I'm like, what do you mean 21? It's 4. But it kind of looks like a 4, but I do think, in fact, it is Car Jam 21. So it's just a tribute project, I think to raise money, maybe for the family of Eric Carr. And it's got 4 tracks on it, so it's an EP. It's got at least one of the songs, let's see, Eyes of Love was a solo song that he wrote, but it's also got Can You Feel It on here, which he wrote too. So it's got those two songs, and then it's also got a Paul Stanley and an Ace Frehley song. And it's done by this group of guys, different band members and things. And they had, the first track has Eric Carr singing on it, and then the other ones, they sing and do everything. But I really wanted to hear the track Eyes of Love, which was a solo song by Eric Carr, and I've got his demo versions of it, and I want to hear what it sounds like with the new modern recorded music behind it and then using his vocals. And I kind of would love it if they would redo the whole album that way. But Car Jam 21 EP, as I said, it's a tribute to Kiss, but also Eric Carr. And I don't know if they started recently. This came out in 2021, so it seems like a relatively new thing, but it would be kind of cool if they go out and continue to do cool tribute to not only, you know, Kiss, but Eric Carr. Impellitteri, this is, I think it's called Victim of the System. It's an EP, 5 tracks on it, Japanese only. Got a better deal than that on it, so it's nice to not have to pay full Japanese price. But either way, you know, that was the price of it when it came out originally. They were $30, you know, CDs anytime something came from Japan. Still sealed, still, you know, what it is. So whether I paid that $30 back then, you know, with inflation, it should cost a lot more. So if you think about it, it's actually a lot less than what you would have paid buying it the first time around. At least that's how I justify it to myself, right? Got to find those ways to justify spending exorbitant amounts of money on music. But anyways, if you never listened to Impellitteri, an amazing shred guitar player, much in the vein of Yngwie Malmsteen. Rob Rock is the vocalist on here. There's other cool guys I know. I knew him from his first album, Stand in Line, which had Graham Bonnet singing on it from Rainbow. And that's how I got into him. But of course, and they paired up here or there, but otherwise he's just had really good backing musicians with him doing it. And I just wanted this standalone. It's from 1993. I have his very first EP, which actually came out before the album Stand in Line, and then Stand in Line. Some other ones too, of course, but I just mean, I really wanted to get this one as a standalone disc for my collection. All right, so I was, you know, fiddling around in my Apple Music, listening to things when I'm commuting to work and stuff like that. And a number of times, cool cover songs popped up by the German prog band Nectar. And when I went to their page to look at it to see if it was on an album, they were just all individual singles. And I thought, well, geez, I really wish they would gather them up. Turns out it actually all came from an album called A Spoonful of Time, which doesn't really tell me that it was a covers album. And so it's got the core guys from Nectar, and then it's got a whole bunch of cool guests on it. So we got members from Yes, Toto, Deep Purple, Cream, Asia, King Crimson, Marillion, Symphony X, Dream Theater, Tangerine Dream, and more. And they do stuff from Rush on here, and Steve Miller Band, Pink Floyd, and it just goes on. And they're really cool because they're interpreted covers. They're not just the straight, let's recreate what the famous group already did. Let's put our own spin on it. And that's why I was interested in this. I'm not really a fan of straight covers. Some people, if you're going to do a cover, they just want to hear the exact same thing recreated. I want to hear the influence of the artist who's now covering it come through in it, put their own little spin, their own little twist on it. A band that was really good at that was Great White. I always enjoyed the cover songs they chose to do because they still sounded like Great White, even though they were doing a cover song. A lot of times you couldn't tell. Metallica is another great band that did that with the early new wave of British heavy metal stuff they were covering. And because I was buying that Nectar, I decided to go ahead and buy this album. I think came out in 1980. This is where they got into a little bit more of the hard rock sound as opposed to the straight up prog 70s sound. So you know me in 80s albums, I thought I'd give this one a go and check it out. This is one too, like I would have bought this a long time ago if I had known that Sound Exchange had it. So I don't know, I know they have a lot of back stock of stuff and they're slowly getting it all out onto the floors. They've been reorganizing the store and getting it in really tip-top shape. Just or, I guess I have to just say organizing. It's not that they found more space, but they're just organizing it better to get more stuff out. So maybe this stuff is backstock that has come, to the forefront kind of a thing. Either way, I'm so glad to get it. All right, now talking about covers albums and things like that, I did go ahead and pick this up. A tribute to the Scorpions. And even though this is a recent reissue, I think it's like 2022, or it's 2022, it's actually a reissue of one maybe a decade earlier kind of thing. So it's not new stuff that's on here, but they definitely hype it up in a different way because they promoted this as George Lynch plays all the guitars. And he really just plays the lead guitar on it. We got Chuck Garrett on bass, John Morris on rhythm guitar, and Steve Riley from LA Guns on drums. And then you've got all these great singers in here. You got Kelly Hansen from Hurricane, Steve Whitman from Kix, Mark Torn of the Bullet Boys, Kevin Dubrow from Quiet Riot's on here. It's one of the reasons that a little light bulb went off in my head when I was looking at this and said, I don't think this is present day. Jizzy Pearl from Love Hate, just goes on and on. So very cool. I haven't listened to it. I've kind of eyeballed it for a little while, basically since it got reissued. I'm hoping that these don't sound like straight Scorpions covers. If they do, they do. What am I going to do? Not much, really. But I like the idea that George Lynch does all the lead work on it. So I'm kind of really hoping that I hear him come through. But I also want to hear those individual vocalists that I really, really like, that I grew up with from the 80s glam metal scene and everything. So that'll be kind of interesting. And then happens to be another one that's a predominantly covers album, but I wasn't buying it for that. Missing Persons, and this was a 2020 album, kind of ran under the radar, I think, due to COVID, called Dreaming. There are 12 songs total on here. 9 are cover songs. 3 of them are originals, and I'm certainly interested in hearing that. But Missing Persons just released this past Friday, November 10th, their first album of all new original material in 37 years, as opposed to only a few new songs. So this thing here just absolutely grabbed me. I'm loving it. It was not what I expected out of the 5 albums that I bought for, new release Friday. I was not expecting this to be the one that would really grab me. And because of that, I want some more. So this is all I actually went to Sound Exchange to get, because I had seen it recently, knowing that it was there. And I said, even though it's going to be cover songs, it's going to be cool, because I picked this up recently, which is a reissue that collects 5 songs from a little while back, actually about 10 years back, I think. And they did 5 new cover songs and then made a whole album out of it. All cover songs on here, but they do them really uniquely. And that's the same case for this. I checked this out, streaming wise before picking it up, and they definitely put a unique spin on these. So whether in listening to the brand new tracks or the cover tracks, it's going to sound like Missing Persons, and that's key for me. All right, and the last one here, because we're just about to get to the holiday season for Christmas, I picked up a Neil Diamond Christmas album. Yes, I am a fan of Neil Diamond. I like him a lot. Simply called the Christmas album. It's listed as 1992. Don't know if that's the original year. I'll have to look that up. 14 tracks on here. I'm not going to be listening to it yet. Just going to be putting it aside. I've been picking up Christmas albums as they've come out, some brand new ones, and I set them aside. Don't open them, don't listen to them until Thanksgiving night. So putting that one aside, but I do have these 8 here to go listen to, and I'm super excited about that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video of me running through my scores from the record store, and I hope you guys maybe made it out to your own record store this weekend and got some stuff. If you did, let me know your new finds. If not, what are you waiting for? Get out to the record store and go get some stuff. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.